Who are we talking about, Nikki? You mentioned people will say certain things, and I mean I am familiar with the signs that I've seen, and I'm not sure who your direct opposition would be in that sense. Like, who are we winning against? Like, what do we mean?
Yeah. Like I said, there are 5 in the race, but there is one person in the race that currently holds a position, and so in city government, if you will, on the school board.
Okay. Who's the person that you mean who's currently, I'm looking at an article.
Office?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So Eshé Collins is a member of the Atlanta Public Schools School Board.
Okay.
Welcome to Loving Kindness Every Day, where you will hear everyday language such as 4-letter, 5-letter, or words that your mother might call profanity. Please be advised.
Eshé Collins, November 7th, 2024.
All right. And do I have your permission to record your voice and use it for a podcast?
Yes, you do.
Thank you. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I love that we started with everything's connected.
Yes.
Because I'd seen your name around, but I didn't really kind of like get to know you, so to speak, until the day that I saw you at the in East Atlanta Village.
At the EAV strip.
That's the one. Mm-hmm. So, I thought it was interesting, and then, like, the only other person I really talked to, I met, I think very soon after that, was this gentleman. I was walking down, it was in one of the other festivals. I was at another festival. Mm-hmm. And here I am just standing there with my family. And this guy walks up to me, he goes, "Hey, do you know Nikki?" Mm-hmm. Like, as if like she's my friend and I should know who she is. I said, no. I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Should I?" And he's like, "Yeah, you should know." And so it was this whole thing, and it ended up in us having a conversation like this one. And when the results came out and then I saw it was just like you two, I thought, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, now we really have to talk.
Yes.
So I did get to enjoy understanding a bit more of like Nikki's background as far as like a person. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm gonna start off with, this is not a political show. Mm-hmm. This is Loving Kindness Every Day. It's an everyday show. It's an everyday language. We talk about. I've sat in this room with people. Thank you. Have a very good day, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We're here in the Lumen building, and one of my neighbors was very neighborly and let me use this room. So I was just saying goodbye to him. Yeah. So I've had many different conversations about so many different things, and lots of different people from walks of life in this room here.
Yeah, that's good.
And really, a lot of times we talk about the heart. Mm-hmm. So I did spend some time looking at your website, and I have a couple of questions for you that are going to be maybe a little different. But you talk about yourself and you say that you're compassionate and bold. Mm-hmm. And so I guess like my question to you is like person to person. I've read your website, so I know about your work at APS. Like I know about you being a lawyer and a very good one, and just I understand that, but like just it's a hard time, I think, for us all right now.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Going back to the polls could be triggering. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's notoriously difficult to get people to vote in a runoff election. Mm-hmm. Why should we go out and vote for you? Well, why should we go out and I mean, you can answer both in the same time, but like, and that's not my question. The question truly is like, what have you done to prove yourself consistently as a compassionate leader? Understanding that I'm not asking you like a political question in that sense. I'm asking you kind of like a. Yeah. At this point, we need person-to-person answers.
Absolutely, and fair enough. And I think for me, it's not so much about the work. This is my life's work and my lived experience. My compassion didn't start just by the work I've done whether I was a school teacher or my professional spaces. my sense of compassion and serving others started, like, that's my family name. That's my family's sake as a Collins. I grew up in the East Atlanta area. My mother was a single mom, raising four children of her own, and two cousins, because I had, family were dealing with, relatives that was dealing with addictions and issues. And one thing about my mother was the oldest of 13. She's still with us, so I don't want to talk about. I don't know why I always kind of talk about her passes, but she's the oldest of 13, and it was she instilled in us early on where you can give, where you can support and help people to be better. You have the skill set, the heart, the determination to do it. It is our duty. It is our old duty on this earth to do that. We were the house, and still is. We are the group. We are the house and the group where everyone comes to, and everyone comes to us seeking support and seeking advice. So for me, seeing what true service is, and what loving people, no matter where they are, no matter who they are, no matter how much money they have, no matter what their circumstances are, was embedded in me I can't even remember since I was young, and I grew up on the mantra that service is our service is our currency.
So as a Collins, you feel like this is your job, this is what you have to do for the people.
I do. I truly feel that way. That for me, and it's not just like being a Collins. It's just for me where I've been blessed and have had the opportunities to go to great educational institutions, be in workspaces, and be in opportunities where I've been able to really contribute much and make and leave things better than the way that I found them or when I started with them. I do think I do have a duty. It's a duty owed to society that I do my fair share of ensuring that I take care of people, and that's what my work has always been. That's when we talked about the alignment, right? And that's what it is. All the work that I do centers around, my life's work centers around doing my part to make a difference in the lives of others, to make spaces and places better than how we found them, and to ensure that everyone's voice is being heard. People that are often marginalized and don't have a voice at the table, to know they have a leader at the table that's going to fight for them and make sure that our interests are paramount. I think that's extremely key, and that's why I'm running for city council. I currently serve as a school board, serve as an elected official, as a school board member, where I just rolled off as chair of the board. And I've been very clear. I'm going to continue, and I say continue because I've been doing the work. I'm going to continue to fight for a city that thrives for all of us. Literally, no matter where you live in this city, no matter your income, we all should have the opportunity to thrive in Atlanta. And what does that look like for us? That looks like we all should be able to afford to live in this city. And it goes beyond housing. It is the services that we have, the amenities, the accessibility that we have as a city. It's ensuring that we're all able to live in safe and healthy neighborhoods and take advantage of the things that are in close proximity to us, where we don't have to travel to enjoy things throughout this city, with the understanding that looks different. That looks different because there are spaces and the diversity of what makes Atlanta great. Some of our communities are different. That's ensuring that we have access to everything. Make sure that everyone in this city can access the things that make Atlanta great. So that is leaning into our transportation and repairing our transit infrastructure, ensuring that our highly transit dependent areas have the mechanism and the infrastructure in place to move easily throughout this city, and that doesn't exist. We're working on it now, right? And it's been another conversation. We were working on it 3 years ago. We were working on it 5 years ago. We were working on 15 years ago. I represent a lot of that area. And I think it's also important to, thriving in Atlanta is making sure workforce opportunities are afforded to our residents that live in Atlanta. What most people don't know, like a lot of the building that's happening at the Gulch and a lot of the companies that's coming in, there has been a commitment that those entities will provide a certain level of affordable housing, but also provide access to jobs for Atlanta residents. We have not held those entities accountable to doing that. So you think about, we're going to have the Super Bowl coming, we're going to have World Cup coming, we're having Final Four, and that's just the entertainment piece. Don't even let's layer it with the growing technology, growing tech companies that's coming here, or the manufacturing companies that are setting up down Dunley Holloway. There are agreements and commitments in place to ensure that that the citizens of Atlanta are also able to take advantage of those growing ecosystems. We have to hold those entities accountable. And the last piece of this is, I think it's extremely important for Atlanta to know that they have a city leader, city councilwoman in this at-large seat that's experienced, that's proactive, that is present, that's know the work, that has done the work, and knowing that they have someone at the table that's going to ask tough questions, that's going to lean into thinking through things differently about how we've taken care of each other throughout this city, and knowing that they have someone that's going to be transparent and hold entities accountable. And I think that is extremely important. Why people should, in fact, vote for me for this post 3 at-large seat. I'm day one ready. Kindness, I am.
I think
Day one ready. There is no ramp up. There is no ramp up period for me, because I've been doing this work. I've been at the table. I've been in the conversations and have the relationships already where I've had to do this work, moving big pieces and addressing big systems, chairing the school board and sitting on the school board, but also just in terms of my advocacy work as a civil rights attorney, and just the things and systems that I fought, have been fighting against to ensure that everyone has an equitable, fair chance in this society. I think is extremely key.
I mean, I think it's interesting that you mentioned accountability. And I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to ask you a question, because you did mention something that is fair, which is that you currently hold a position as an elected official. You're actually the only person on the ticket that had that advantage in that sense, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is this: what have you done with your current seat that you couldn't do before, that has shown the compassionate nature I asked you about?
Yeah. So you're saying, so let's make sure I'm answering the question. What have I done in my current seat that has never been done before?
That you couldn't do before because you weren't elected.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a few things. We've been able to, when I led the board, we've been able to give when people said it can be done, we were able to give the highest highest teacher pay raise of, history. Our teachers are now making a comfortable salary that they are able to, a livable salary that they're able to live off of. What I share with people is that was a 6-year strategy. From the time that I came on board leadership as vice chair, I chaired the policy committee as well. And at that time, my colleague, who's now state senator, Jason, we really talked about, we want to get our teachers to a competitive pay raise so they can even afford to live in the city. Because the reality is, a lot of our workforce in the education space can't afford to live in the city. So for me, and I was a former teacher in APS, so I know that feeling of having to invest your own dollars into classrooms and community. So for me, it was very key about we need to get ourselves to show that we care about our teachers, we care about our system as a whole, to change the culture of we just want you to come to work and to take care of our people so they can take care of our babies. We had to lead by example, and I tell people that was a 6-year strategy. And the reason why I emphasize that, because we're talking about this, the same thing is happening in City Hall now, where there's a constant debate, constant negotiating that is happening about fair wages and livable wages, which is high. You want to make that investment. And I tell people, you got to take care of people that you want to take care of people, right? So if you want our city workers to take care of this city, we have to take care of them. And so I share that example because I can literally walk through, this is how we as a school system, as one of our largest ecosystems in the city, got ourselves to a competitive teacher pay where we don't have to go back, right? Like, and that was the thing. It always was a raise, but then it was frozen, or, you know, it was taken away. We at the point where you all won't ever have to hear about someone saying they're froze. So that's an example. I talk about the affordable housing piece because one thing I had noticed as a school board member, and I represent the complete south side of the city. When I first got elected, my high school was at a 53% graduation rate. I represent 21 schools. 19 of those schools had interim principals. So when you talk about we talk about school success, you have to understand, you know, the leader is so key. So think about that, right? You had 19 schools with interim principals. Every year they were looking for another job. So what kind of culture were you setting in the school, right? Also on top of that, I represent an area where I have communities that are some of the poorest communities in the country, right? Some of the poorest communities in the country. You know, you hear about Atlanta with the largest wealth gap. So for me, it was the affordability piece was so key because as a district and as a school board member, I was very vocal about if we're gonna ever talk about Atlanta Public Schools being a great system, it has to be great for everyone. And what we have to understand what greatness look like for everyone, it is different. We're gonna have to invest differently in certain spaces. We can't do we can't take this on as an equal share. We have to take this on as an equitable share, because I had schools that have a larger population of students with special needs, but you're just giving them the regular general teachers. So I need a little bit more investment in that space. Over the years, pushed for the investments to happen to increase our, to change our funding formula, to increase more investments in that space. Pushed into, again, let's take care of our people so they can take care of our children, right? And over the years saw great improvement. But kindness, what I also noticed was the same population of people and children and families that I was fighting to build now this system, advocating for this great system, sure, was no longer there because they were being pushed out of their own neighborhoods. Gentrification. Think about Pittsburgh. Yeah, my areas are Pittsburgh, Mechanicsville, Cascade. My area where I live, Campbellton and Fairburn, so Princeton Lakes, Lakewood, pieces of Armwood, pieces, right? Yeah, not far from, Hank Aaron's, Summer Hill, pieces of Summer Hill. So you think about what you visually see. I know a lot of the families that I was working hard for at the beginning, they're no longer there. So for me, it was, how can we also be a part of the conversation of addressing affordability, because we see so many of our families that can benefit all of the great things that we're doing. Sending your kid to a college as a sophomore and junior, so when they graduate, they got 2 years of college under their belt, and guess what? They only got to pay, they don't have to figure out another 2 years versus paying for 4 years. Sure. And so it was that this was a 3-year effort where we launched a facilities master planning process to think about what are we doing with all of our land, because what most people don't know, the largest landowner, let me see if you know, who's the largest landowner in the city? Atlanta Housing Authority. So Atlanta Housing Authority is the largest landowner. The second largest landowner is the school system.
That's interesting.
Yes, right? So, and that aligns, Atlanta Housing Authority, that aligns with all of the closing of the public housing that took place in 2006, 2007. And the reason I can talk about that is because my community was impacted. I was an elementary teacher teaching at A.D. Williams, which was in the center of a housing community called Bourne Homes. And in 2006, they made the decision to close all of public housing throughout the city. And so when they closed the public housing in my neighborhood community, my school ultimately closed because 100% of my families were displaced. That was the catalyst for me to go to law school. I said I would never be in a space where I have families and voices that decisions are made for them that are at them without them at the table. right? So with that, so fast forward, here we are, Atlanta Public Schools. We're the second largest landowner. We have so much vacant property in the city. Almost we were where we add to blight. And so we launched the facilities master planning process to think about how can we do things differently with the land that we know we can't use, right? Because it's either too small to build a school or a building. Launched this big effort, launched this big conversation with my colleagues on the board of like, let's think differently. And so we launched this process, a strategic planning process. We talked about what are the key things in the city that we want to contribute to, which was affordability, early childhood education spaces, additional parks and recs or family support, areas where we can support our families. So we codified that process, and right before I rolled off as chair, we locked in an agreement with the city and created a land trust. We turned over our first starting 8 vacant properties to actually be a part of affordable housing, to be a part of affordable housing. And it could be an RFP process to support affordable housing built for teachers, for our workforce, for families, or whatever that space is. And mind you, I've been on the board for 11 years, so I shared this process with you that we started 3 years ago, so 8 years within my service, but something that I saw impacting my family is like my second and third year as a board member. And so I share that timeline to say change happens, and change is it's relative, it's fluid. You have the low-hanging fruit of change that you can do just like this. You have change that's going to take a couple of years. You have change that's going to truly be a generational change. And for my commitment in service period has been just that, a true generational commitment.
What's the low-hanging fruit change that you're day one ready to make?
Oh.
You said you're day one ready. What are the low, easy, attainable changes straight away? We know this is what's going to happen.
Yep. So I think the easiest part, the most easiest part is engagement. So the current, I would say the former councilman, because I love her and I respect her, Keisha Waits, she was out there. It was whether it was the public safety training facility, whether it was the increase in affordable housing, all of these key things. One thing that the community has been very clear about is engagement. So my first thing, day one, is getting out to the community, truly understanding and providing the spaces for the community to actually share to actually have a voice on the changes that what they need to see. I think another immediate action is approving the increased inventory of our affordable housing stock as a city council member. I currently serve on the Invest Atlanta board, representing the school system, representing the APS, and we're in these conversations right now about some of the development that's happening in the city to increase affordable housing. My big push has been the being more diverse in our affordable housing inventory. You're going to see, and I mean, you may have seen this. You can see a lot of affordable housing units, apartment units. But when you think about the largest scale of what we're seeing in Atlanta and the growth of our population, there are small families. Right? At least a minimum of a 4-person household, whether it's a single parent, 3 kids, 2 adults, 2 children, whatever the case may be. So I've really been leaning on, and I've been very vocal and advocating for more affordable single family affordable housing. And there's those projects that are up to play as we speak. That is one immediate thing that I will be leaning in as a city council member to push. Another piece with affordable housing, the one thing I definitely want to lean into immediately and understand and figure out how do we not go back here is the fact with the Gulch development, what's happening. Where part of the Gulch development, they made a commitment to build affordable housing. I don't know who wrote in that they could either build affordable housing or they pay. Or they can pay I don't know, they call it a penalty, or they can pay by them. They can buy. I would say they can buy their way out of that, and that's what they've done. Right? That's what they've done. Instead of them making the commitment to build affordable housing and that's supposed to be projected, one of the highest earning entertainment complexes in this country is what they're building. They in their contract was a provision that they could either choose to build it or they can pay it out, and they chose to pay it out, which easily for a developer can do that. Those are some of the spaces where sitting on the legal committee is asking, how do we even get to this point, allow this to happen, and make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Where does the money go for these things? And
Say
is there? I have a question. Like with regards to the affordable housing, like you mentioned a piece with regards to buildings that are too small to make a school out of it.
Yeah,
right?
Land.
Excuse me, land.
Yep,
I apologize.
the land size.
The land sizes are too small for schools, but why not do something a bit different and build 4 small homes? Or like a stronger structure that can be separated where 4 families can live there.
Absolutely.
And things like that.
That's the vision. Absolutely. So that's the vision. That's why we created a land trust. Because remember, we're a school system. We're in the business of educating children. This.
But where's the money?
What do you mean?
The money we just discussed about them not building the affordable housing and they paid the fee.
Yeah. So that's we also have to understand, if this entity has decided instead of paying affordable housing, they're going to pay out the money, and I can't remember how many millions it is. Where's that money? Where does that money go? And that's
into building these duplexes and triplexes and things like that. No.
Yeah, it can, absolutely. But we have to make sure and hold entities accountable to make sure that money goes there. Because also, and it's a great question, because in that same the Gulch TAD is what it's called, or Centennial Yards. Let's do Centennial Yards. The Centennial Yards TAD, there is a fund where from revenue that's generated from that, it goes into it's called an affordable housing investment fund. And that is actually what's happened. That is actually the funds that has frozen legacy residents that live in the city, has frozen their property taxes for the next 20 years.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's an example of a fund that's already in play. So you talk about what we can do with this money, then I think it's important for us to earmark what are those other opportunities, those other priorities that we can create a fund and hold it accountable in that space.
Is it okay? Would the fund build new? I guess my thing is so we didn't build housing.
So
I'm
upset
build
about
the
it.
Housing, but we're gonna put a fund for people who already, for example, already have a home. Sure, maybe it's for the people who don't. What are you gonna do with the money? You know what I mean? That's the question of
So there's a couple of things I think we have to have we can have a conversation on, and I think it's important for as for city council to think through this. We are, like I said, we already have that fund in place that support protecting our legacy residents for being Just
an example.
Yep, as an example for this bucket of money and funds, then we need to think about, we need to look at where's our strategic design and plan and where our priorities are. We know that we know that there's a gap in workforce development opportunities. There's an opportunity for us to support there. We know that there is a gap in funding and supporting holistic opportunities for children and families, whether it's at Park and Rec, whether it is, in the neighborhoods that they are living in. We know that there's opportunity for us to address the parts of the city that are under food deserts, and how can we create that fund to support our small businesses that are helping us address those things. So there's some ideas that we can really look into allocating and investing, giving back. The big thing for me is prioritizing to give back to our communities, to give back to our people. Now, like I said, my initial reaction, I'm upset about the fact that the developer was able to do that.
Are they?
It was in their agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, that it was literally as a lawyer. It was in their contractual. It was in
the contract.
They had the option, and so what they did, they exercised they just exercised an option. So for me, it was like, well, how we got to a point where we wrote in.
Why do we allow the option?
Yes, why we even? Yeah, absolutely. Right, and so, yeah.
I mean, I won't pretend. I'm upset about the fact that suddenly housing goes away and the suggestions are it's cool, food and bread, but also a house instead would be nice, a place to live. You know,
Absolutely.
That's what we need. Like, you know, giving it to people if people need a place to live.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, sure. I'll leave it there. I know my last question for you that I wrote down, and I had a little like question was, what innovation will you use to support the cleaner, healthier environment here in Atlanta? Because you talk about that specifically on your website.
Yeah, I think so. I think, and the reason why I uplift that is because, you know, being born and raised in the city, one thing I really loved about, and I still love about Atlanta, is that we are truly a city in a forest, right? And there are spaces, opportunity, you know, there are spaces, environments, and but we have to fight to protect it, because we're seeing, you know, we're seeing what happens there. For me, it is like when I think about the environment and ensuring that we all are able to, again, travel and move around this city with just access to clean air, clean water. When we think about the breakdown of our, you know, water infrastructure, just clean pieces across the board in our environmental piece. For me, the innovative things is thinking about how, as a city councilwoman, being able to help legislate some of those pieces. And so if that is looking at like redoing our, you know, and this is my great, I love this type of stuff, redoing our water structure, because, you know, we can build those water barriers in the system that actually help you actually recycle and refunnel storm water, that actually relieve pressure from our water infrastructure. There are things that we can put in place and legislate from an ordinance, a policy piece, to give more credit, you know, give credit and really do investments into companies and developers that are creating more green eco spaces for, you know, in communities, part of their development structure. I think there is opportunity for us to lean into, and I'm thinking from an operational side for the city, is truly how we lean into more of our electric, you know, our EV infrastructure. I mean, but you know, and I'm saying in terms of the operational side of us as a city, promoting more of, and not promoting, but really being very intentional, proactive, and almost in a very intentional approach to supporting our communities in terms of moving into a more environmentally friendly space. The big catalyst for me, and I think a lot of people don't talk about this, and why the infrastructure piece is so key, and why we as a city and city leadership really need to lean into addressing our water infrastructure issues. We're currently under 2 federal consent decrees because we have not addressed our aging water infrastructure.
Explain to the people what that means.
Yep. So, I appreciate it. Yeah. So, you know, consent decree meaning that we as a city was sued by the federal government because our water infrastructure aging, with broken pipes, and the aging structure of it can actually cause water contamination that impacts a large population, which is the citizens of Atlanta. So the federal government we were sued twice, put us under a consent decree to repair our water infrastructure. Tried it one time, didn't meet the compliance piece, so we're under a second one that's been revised with very clear dates, and I think we have to have certain parts of the infrastructure repaired by 2026, which is why you're probably seeing a lot of these things, and in the midst of, while they were already repairing, pieces are failing. And so I think it's important for us, not only as city councilmen, your city government leadership, to really lean into making sure that we're not only addressing what we are legally mandated to address, but also planning and investing in infrastructure so this doesn't happen again. For me, the catalyst was, and most people, a lot of people don't know this, but I remember being, seeing families and children where the certain parts of the city where the infrastructure is aging, you have fecal fountains. Where literally, and people are like, well, what is a fecal fountain? Well, a fecal fountain is that pool of water that you think is just sitting storm water, and it's not. It is actually a breakdown in the infrastructure in the sewage system that has lifted up. And if you look at where this is taking place in the city, it is taking place in the city in communities of high need, of high poverty areas where our children and families are walking by these things or even playing close by them. And so for me, it was this is unacceptable for us as a city to allow these type of conditions to persist in a city that we claim to love so much. And so for me, I do think it's not enough voice and it's not enough emphasis at the city council level about the environment, about protecting the environmental structure of this city. It goes beyond just the greenery of the city, but we truly have to think about this as a collective, comprehensive stance in terms of all of these key pieces, and why repairing our water infrastructure is so key. Why ensuring that every neighborhood has that walkable space and the parks, and why those pieces are so key. Because again, it goes to, kindness. Again, it goes to my initial piece for running for this is continuing to fight for an Atlanta that thrives for us. And I truly feel that every child, every family in this city should have access again to those things that make Atlanta great. And that's part of it.
Yeah, I forgot that. I have to be fair to you. I have to ask you, what sets you apart from your opponent in that sense? Why are you the choice?
I am the choice.
why are you the choice?
And
not Dr. Nikki?
Yeah.
Why? What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the post 3 seat is one of the 3 seats on city council that are at large. You got 16 seats. You got your city council president, your 12 district seats, and you have 3 at large citywide seats. This seat, you need that Atlanta deserves to have someone in this seat that has the experience, that has a proven track record, that not only can talk about the idea, but can really walk through and show, like, this is how we can make this happen together. A person that is a relationship builder and a connector, that ensures that has a proven track record of assuring that everyone has a voice at the table, that has built engagement structures to ensure that we have full buy-in before we move on some big issues that impact us largely. And there's a lot of challenges that Atlanta that exist in Atlanta, but there's a lot of great opportunities ahead of us. And Atlanta deserves a leader in this seat that thinks innovatively, that thinks that thinks out the box, that's a visionary, but one that also understands, I can't do this work alone. This work is not about me. This is the people's seat. The people are my boss. You all are my boss. And moving away from these conversations, and when we talk about this work as an either or, and truly we need to be in a space of a both and understanding that you have a leader that you have the full commitment of a leader to make that happen. And I do feel that's why a lot of, that I'm getting the support that I'm getting. People are galvanizing around me, around this seat, because people know my work and people know Eshé has done the work. And I think that is key. And I think that Atlanta needs to know that you have a candidate in this race that is truly day one ready. I can win this seat on Tuesday, December 3rd, and be sworn in December 4th, and keep going on behalf of the citizens of Atlanta, because I have done the work, and I truly feel that sets me apart from my candidate, from my opponent. Someone that's independent, not beholden to anyone. No previous relationships with anyone. No, one that when people say Eshé Collins, Eshé does the work, and my record and my track record speaks for that.
You're referencing Dr. Nikki when you refer to the independent situation.
Yeah, no, I think that, because I refer to the independency as a current elected official. Because one thing you'll hear about, people thinking like elected officials are bought, or, there's someone that's, there's a machine behind them. I've always been an independent elected official, because I've been very clear, if it's not the right thing to do or the best interest of our people, I can't align with you on that. Again, this work is not about me, it's about us. And I take that extremely seriously. And I think that's another thing that sets me apart from my opponent, is that the city deserves to have a leader in that, in that space, that thinks along in that way, and have a proven track record of it. I think that is extremely key. This is not,
Is there a spiritual piece to any of it? I should mention that we do talk a lot about divine synchronicity and all these types of things that come together. So is there anything that we should feel or know about you in that sense?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I'm a down South Georgia girl. Of course, there's always a spiritual space with me. So I start with the fact that I know my purpose on this earth is to help others. I truly feel that way. And to leave things better than I found them. That is that could be a very nebulous, very idealistic, or however people want to call it, that a lot of people may not be able to resonate with. And so you get to spaces where the work becomes challenging. Work becomes challenging. You get pushback. You deal with tiredness, and the source of my strength is my spirituality. Is knowing that there's a higher power that has helped prepare me for this moment, and understanding that the universe, the energy that I put out is the energy that I receive, that's going to be reciprocated towards me. Did I say that right? Reciprocity. It's going to come back to me. So I'm a firm believer of, you treat people the way you want to be treated. You love on people the way you want to be. You love on people the way you want to be loved. You put out the energy in the universe that you want to receive. You want to receive back. And kindness, what I will say, that when that doesn't happen, it's heartbreaking, right? Like it could be a disappointment. It could be like, it's a gut feeling. So for me, it is when I'm when I'm by myself at night, is thanking God, and just showing appreciation for where my life has been, and in moments of not even knowing what lies ahead for me. But I'm stepping out, it is faith. It's truly faith with works, that goes against the faith without works. It truly is faith with works. Would you have asked me that I know I was going to be at this space? Absolutely not. But what I did know was, whatever it was, I love to be on the ground with the people. I knew local is always my thing. I don't have no ambition of doing state work or federal. I love to touch, talk, connect with the work. So it's one of those things where these opportunities become, the opportunity like this come available. You have to talk to you have to go back to you have your spirituality kicks in, and you have to have conversation with the universe in terms of, I see what you're doing here. So it's throughout.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I always end and I say, I've led the conversation, and I recognize that. But if you have any questions, do you have any questions for me, or anything that you want to say?
Yeah, I want to start by saying I appreciate this opportunity. I really, and I would love, if there's opportunity to come back, I would love the opportunity to come back. I think my question to you is, what do you think about all, you live in the city. You you're in spaces of, as a entrepreneur, as a creative, as just some of the things that you want to do. My question is, what do you think about this, and what are you looking for in your leader? What are you looking for in your next leader?
Transparency.
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand, obviously not everything, because nobody, sometimes, like, I know it's a popular place and people like it, but the menu at the Cheesecake Factory is overwhelming for me. I don't necessarily need all of those options, right? Mm-hmm. But like, understanding the things that matter, like being able to know, like, oh, this is what's happening, and an easy to understand and I want to say kind of like bite-sized way, because there's a lot going on. I'm going to speak and I'm going to speak kind of like what I would like, not even personally, I think what I'd like to see just for people, because I think that people in general are overloaded and overwhelmed, and there's a lot going on. And so people don't have the time or the energy, the bandwidth necessarily for too much shit, really. But I think that people do want to know what's going on. I think that even like when you mentioned, you know, I understood about the sewer system and things like that. Like, I think that people maybe, if it was more bite-sized and easy to understand, when they saw the children walking by playing with it, be like, oh no baby, don't just come on over here, instead of just being like, oh, I'm sure it's harmless, you know, like especially parents stressed, long day, it's entertaining the child for 5 minutes, I'll let them play in the mud. But you know, just bite-sized like information that's impactful and important and significant to my life or to the lives of things that are going on, and transportation situation, the roads, the fixing of the streets. That's where I'm at. Oh, actually, personally, I love that you asked me that. I'm actually going to answer you now. That was my like for the people answer. Me personally, Kindness Calloway would like to see much stronger buildings that are built. Or should you guys put in the codes, instead of telling them to give us affordable housing, tell them not just to put up plywood and plastic. I would like that. That would be nice.
High quality.
Because I was concerned that storm that went to Asheville when we went to sleep that night, they were like, it's coming to Atlanta. And I was like, I came from Miami, I know what hurricanes look like. I know what these buildings are made of. These two things don't go together.
Fair, exactly, absolutely right.
So that's where I'm at. Okay. That's that. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna stop, because I appreciate your time. I know you got a hard stop, and
we're a little bit over.
We passed that 10 minutes ago, so I appreciate you.
I was late, so it's all good.
It's all good. All right, I mean, is there anything else you want to say, though?
No, I just want to thank you again. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this. And so, any other opportunity to reconnect, I appreciate it. It's been a busy season, so I appreciate you being patient as well and flexible.
What are you doing to take care of yourself?
I know, right? To me, it's just been sleep. Just being in my house.
Okay. Here's a preview for you.
Next time on Loving Kindness Every Day.
First of all, I'm not a career politician. Well, I retired August 2023, March 2024. The most recent person that held the post 3 at-large seat on Atlanta City Council stepped down. My phone started ringing. You said you were going to run. You live in this district. You'd be perfect. And I, again, said to myself, one of your mantras is be the change you wish to see. And so I stepped up and threw my name into this race. I believe that I have not only the experience and the track record to show that I can make change, move policy forward. I have the disposition to get the work done.